team, welcome back. This week we're going to be diving into a bit of a reloading series. This is going to be part 1 or probably a 3 or a 4-part series. We need to do up a load for the 6.5 Creedmoor. I just got this back from Trentech Engineering 2 days ago, so I need to find a load for it. We do have a QPRC match coming up in 2 weeks, so I need to get it done fast. So I thought I'd do a quick video showing you guys how I deal with virgin brass, a new barrel, and the process I use to go about finding a good match load. So full disclosure first, if you're new to reloading, seek advice from the bullet manufacturer that you're going to be using. So I'll post up Sierra. I'm going to be using a 140 grain bullet. So if I click across to the Sierra website, this is the data that they start at. So like all reloading practices, start low, work up, stop as soon as you hit pressure signs. Hornady also have a reloading guide. They have manuals out that you can purchase. I'm going to be using the 140 grain VLD burger, so I'll put that one up now. So that's what I would use if I was starting out and didn't really know a starting point. Because I've loaded the 6.5 Creedmoor so many times, I sort of know which area it's going to fall into and what sort of recipe it's going to like. So this is going to be the 4th barrel or 5th barrel that I've had in 6.5 Creedmoor. So I already know where it should want to settle down. So we're going to prep the brass and everything in accordance to what I'm trying to achieve on the first range day. So the people I turn to when I'm looking for advice, so there's 3 places I go to. 2 are shooters and one's just a website or a blog, I guess you'd call it. So PRB, they got some amazing articles out for new guys and the experienced guys who have been reloading for a while. They got some great articles out explaining bullet jump, loads, what the top shooters are using, what are the main components people are using. So it gives you a good understanding of what people are using and having good success with. So that'll sort of give you a good idea of what components to look for, and then seek guidance from the manual on how to safely load those components up and piece them all together basically. So the 2 shooters that I use is Eric Cortina and Scott Sadley. So Eric needs no introduction, world class F-class shooter. Scott Sadley, same, needs no introduction. He's well known on the PRS and NRL series. So they both have different techniques on their reloading practices. So basically I'll grab a piece off Scotty, a piece off Eric, and then combine it with what I've read on PRB, because on the PRB I've had great success. I've tried a few things out of their articles over the last 5-6 barrels and it's worked every time, so I just stick to that. If you've got a reloading practice that works for you, don't change it. And if you do want to try something, only change one thing at a time so you can quickly fault find and get back to that load that's proven itself for you. So what we'll do now is quickly get into the components I'm going to be using, and then we'll start prepping some brass. Alright, in the way of components, for brass we're going to be using 6.5 small rifle lap brass. Powder, we're using ADI 2209. For the guys who run the Hodgdon, it's going to be the equivalent of your H4350. We do have a shortage on powder at the moment, so these components may change throughout the year or throughout the next season, depending on what our suppliers can sort of get in and stock the shelves with. But at this stage, it's going to be ADI 2209. For the bullet, we're going to be running the 140 VLD target. It's a new bullet for me, haven't used it before. I'm sort of hoping that it's going to be relatively the same in the way of powder charges and all that sort of stuff. Primer, CCI Magnum 450 primers. I've had good success with this along with the Federal 205 match. They've usually given me the best SD, ES numbers. I did have a heap of 450s left over, so that's what we're going to be using in the load. To prep the brass, we'll go through how I actually do that in a minute, but we're going to be using a Wilson full-length bushing die. The bushing we're going to be using is a 288. Depending on how much the mandrel is working the brass, we might swap that out for a 286. So we'll see on the first reload on how we go. We might swap that out. And like I just said, to expand the necks back out, we're going to be using an expander mandrel, set 2 thou under, which is going to be a mandrel of 262. So that's going to set roughly 2 thou neck tension, and we'll play with that combo once we get through and find some 5-formed brass. To seat the bullets, we're using another Wilson die in conjunction with the K&M Arbor Press. I find this die, the way it's set up, I get real consistent seating depth, pressure and tolerances. You can really feel if there's any inconsistencies with neck tension, so it's easy to pluck the odd case out and move it out of the bunch. So they're the components. I've had good success with these over the last 4 or 5 barrels that I've done, so I'm not changing too much. The only thing I might change out, like I said, is the bushing. Alright, so with brass prep, all I've done with all these cases here is chamfered deburred the mouth and used graphite powder and ran the 262 mandrel through them. Even though these aren't 5-formed cases, I still want to try uniform all these here as much as possible, so the results that I get today when we head out to the range is going to be somewhat similar, or I'm giving it the best chance to give me the best data back. So that's what I've done with that. That's how I treat all my virgin cases. So what I'm going to do is load up one round, Scott Satterley. This is the Scott Satterley method. So he will load up one round of all the powder charges that he wants to check, and then look for a flat spot. So I use the exact same method after watching his videos and all that sort of stuff. I'll just load up a few extra, and just so I get more data, and then I'll just look for the flat spot, load to that, and then play with seating depth. But because this isn't fire-formed stuff, this here could change slightly. But what I am interested in is the 41.7. That's been the load for the last 4 or 5 barrels that I've had. So 41.7 of 2209 with either a 205 or a 450 primer with a 140 grain bullet has all shot at 41.7 with SDs of 3 to 6 sort of thing, and they've hung around 2790 to 2810 feet per second. So if I can duplicate that today with these loads here, just with virgin brass, I know that there's a good chance that barrel is going to perform the same as what the others have. Now, with that said, the one thing that I am going to pay close attention to also is the seating depth. So I'm going to load up, because I think this is what the load's going to be, I'm going to load all these here up, apart from 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, say around 20 rounds, which I'm going to use for the powder test. All the rest are going to be loaded at 41.7, and I'm going to seat them all 50 thou off the land. So I'll just go through my way first on how I find a starting point for seating depth, and then I'll go into Eric's way. So for me, because I'm dealing with virgin brass, before I get my barrel done, I will send Lee a bullet to what specs I want it to be off the lands, or how I want my chamber set up. So this here is 2190. I don't know if that'll pick it up, but 2190. So I sent that to Lee, and I said I want this bullet to be 20 thou off the land. So this here is now my reference point. So the lands, not that I care where the lands is, but I just need a reference point to start my measurements off to get to roughly 50 thou, so I can start honing in on a seating depth. So the lands roughly should be 2210. This is 2190, so it should be roughly around 2210. So now I'll just go back and add 30 thou to this, and that will put me around that 50 thou jump, and I can start honing in and doing my 3 thou increments and trying to find that little node there. That's what I do with virgin brass. So if I had a fire formed, this is just one from a previous barrel, if I had fire formed brass, all I'm doing is just changing bullet and keeping the same barrel. So these are the guys who are just swapping bullets out or something like that. What I'll do is play around the neck a little bit till the bullet that I want to use slides in and out easy. So I'll just, so if it slides in and out, then all I'm going to do, get some Loctite and just put a few dabs just on the inside of the neck, and then seat this ever so gently, and then put this, seat it long, put that inside your chamber and close the bolt and let it sit for about 10 minutes. From there you can pull it out, and that there is going to be a touching point. It's not going to be a jam point, it's just going to be inside the lands X amount, or X thou. And that there is your starting point if you're doing it that way. For Eric, what Eric does, is, so if I didn't have either of them, what I would do, so what Eric does is get a case. I'll just use this one again. So Eric gets a case, seats it long. So forget the Loctite, he seats it long, puts a little bit of wax or something on the end of the bullet, puts it in the chamber, closes the bolt, and lets the lens seat the bullet. So that there is going to be a jam point. So what he means by jam is it's a no-go zone. You don't want to seat your bullet that far out, because the possibility of it getting jammed is high. So what he does is find that jam point, comes back 20 thou, and then starts his 3 thou seating increments. So that makes total sense. If you try repeat that, you might get different results, because it is heavily reliant on neck tension. So if you try to do this with another batch or a Hornady or something like that, rather than lap, you might get different readings if you try to duplicate this because of neck tension. So it's just a once-off measurement. You're not trying to repeat that, it's just a once-off measurement. Find jam, come back 20, start your reloading, start your seating test. For me, that there is my measurement, not jam. So I just come 30 thou off that, and then I'm at my starting point. What we're going to do now is load these up. I can't show you that, but I'll talk you through what I'm trying to do, and then we'll seat them and head out to the range. Alright, so like we just talked about, we're going to load all these here up at 41.7, apart from the ones that we are going to be doing a powder charge test with. So all these are going to be 41.7 seated, 50 thou off the lands, or roughly around where the lands is, and these are going to be seated at 2160, which will put us in the ballpark of the 50 thou. I'm really looking to get around the 60 to 70 thou, but I'm going to come back 10 thou just to cover all bases. So what we're going to do is, we'll just try that there. So we're looking at 2160, 2175, so I need to come down another 15. Right, so 2160, I'll just turn that around so you can see, hopefully it'll pick that up. So 2160, so I'm going to go through and load about 40 rounds at 2160 and head out to the range and do a seating depth test with the rest of these rounds here, and I'll seat the powder charge at 2160 as well. So we'll go out there, do that, and part 2 will be analysing the results and showing you how to get the numbers for your Fireform brass and prepping it, and then we'll load up the Fireform stuff and head out to the range and confirm the data.